James Bond 26, will the 007 reboot after Daniel Craig be set in Ian Fleming's 1950s? James Bond 26 will reboot the franchise after Daniel Craig, but will they take 007 back to his Ian Fleming roots in the 1950s? James Bond has been rebooted a number of times over the years, not just in terms of actors, but tone and style too. Sir Roger Moore's incarnation was sillier and tongue-in-cheek before Timothy Dalton introduced us to a darker version of the character. But then with the falling of the Berlin Wall in 1989, the Cold War ended and producers and fans began to wonder if Bond was really relevant anymore. After a 6-year hiatus, the longest in the franchise's history, Pierce Brosnan came along with Goldeneye, taking on a more modern 007 for the new geopolitical landscape. However, it wasn't long before he followed more into the realms of farce, with Die Another Day's invisible car. And following 9/11's Bond, producers knew they had to reboot again, and this time it was the most radical of all. Casino Royale was the only unused Fleming book, and it was an origin story, starting with Bond getting his 00 status for his first kill. Craig's 007 was blonde, had big muscles and captured a stripped-back, gritty take on the spy. And let's not forget there was no comic relief Q or Moneypenny for another 2 movies. Now, with the 50-year-old star about to bow out in his 5th and final Bond movie with Danny Boyle next year, thoughts are already on what's next for 007. It's going to be a tough act to follow for whoever takes over, and surely they can't just do gritty again. The next radical step could be to cast a non-white or female actor as Bond. However, a more interesting option would be to set the next reboot in the period of Fleming's novels, the 1950s. Since the Bond films began, every decade since the 1960s have seen 007 films set in them, except for where it all began. And with a 2022 release date being likely due to the 60th anniversary of the franchise, what better way to pay tribute than to take Bond back to his post-war roots? Earlier this week, Anthony Horowitz's official prequel to Casino Royale, Forever and a Day, was released. Set in 1950, this could be the perfect start to a period reboot, beginning with Bond's first 2 kills as recorded by Fleming, a chance for a more authentic take on the iconic character. And Christopher Nolan has said he'd like to direct Bond one day, but only if it's a reinvention. Well, this would be the perfect match. But until then, Daniel Craig returns in Bond 25, released in UK cinemas on October 25, 2019.